Nigeria, good morning. You're welcome to Aloore Radio, when we transmit from the Ministry of Information and Orientation, Agodi Secretariat. It's time for your favorite program, Newspaper Review. I am Temitope Ojawo. This morning, I have the Nation newspaper with me, and I will first go through the headline. Before doing that, let me remind you that you can join us on all our social media handles, and you can easily dial our number on 09039853731. We pick a dial hat once. The Nation newspaper has a lot at the front page as headline and some story, but the most bold story at the front page of this newspaper this morning is our federal government plan to raise 36.35 trillion revenue by Bagudu. Also at the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning, ISWAP kills 40 farmers in Bono, CDS to choke at terror. The story is on page 4. Ayako back as PDP National Secretary Ologun Agba kicks. The story is on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Also, the front page of this newspaper is headline that says Senate panel federal government team meets over tax reform bill. Page 2. Why Tinubu should intervene in unconfirmed disputes. Page 22. Alongside all the headline, the front page of this newspaper this morning is why Lagos Speaker Obasa was removed. And also, Oyo Agog as Alofi guest staff of office. Telecoms to disconnect bank over 350 bank USSD debt, and many other at the front page of the Nation newspaper. Join us when we go into the details of this newspaper. But for now, we're going to observe a short break. Please stay tuned.
We bring you everything from breaking news.
The president must know that this is a bad time for our nation. We must look for foreign support to save this nation.
World news, sport, music, and many more. To listen to our programs, follow us live on all our social media platforms, on Facebook at Aloore Radio, Twitter and Instagram at Aloore Radio. You can also subscribe on our YouTube page on Aloore Radio. Make sure you click on the notification bell so you know when we are live. This is Aloore Radio, the voice of all your states. Let us take you on a journey across continents as we bring you latest news, captivating stories, and diverse perspectives from around the globe. From breaking news headlines to fascinating features, discover the stories that shapes our society and the voices that demand to be heard. It's Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio.
You're welcome back, and thanks so much for staying tuned on your favorite program, Newspaper Review at Aloore Radio. The first story I would like to pick from the Nation newspaper this morning is why Lagos Speaker Obasa was removed. President's Merenda take over tax security around Assembly. In a dramatic turn of events, the Lagos State House of Assembly yesterday impeached the Speaker Mudashiru Obasa over alleged gross misconduct. His removal while he was in the United States followed allegation of misappropriation of funds, high hardiness, and lack of transparency in the management of the Assembly's affairs. The impeachment sparked jubilation among lawmakers. You can read more about that story on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Also at the front page of the Nation is a story on telecoms to disconnect bank over 250 billion USSD debt. Some banks risk disconnection by telecom operators over the failure to comply with a directive of Nigerian Communication Commission (NCC) to repay the 250 billion naira on restricted supplementary service data USSD debt. It was learned that the telecoms have gotten the regulation nod to disconnect the affected deposits money banks (DMBs). According to the source, the suspension of the USSD service is expected to last for 2 weeks to enable the customer migrate from their non-compliant status to the bank that are complying. Read more about that story on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Tax reform bill, Senate panel federal government teammates. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi yesterday led federal government delegation, the National Assembly complex to meet with the Senate ad hoc committee on tax reform bills. The meeting, which held behind the closed door, lasted for several hours. With the AGF were the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service FRSC, SAC Adedeji, Chairman Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Physical Commission, Dr. Muhammad Bello Shehu, and the Chairman Presidential Physical Policy and Tax Reform Committee, Taiwo Oyedele. Some critics of the bill have been demanding wider consultation for clarification on the grey areas which they fear may injure the interest. Governor Babagana Zulu of Borno State, Bala Muhammad Bauchi, and Abdullahi Sule Nazarawa, as well as some lawmakers in the north, have asked the government to pull the brake on the proposed legislation. Let us get more about that story on the same page, page 2 of the Nation newspaper, still on that page. Tinubu, Kagame push for increased intra-Africa trade collaboration. African nations must prioritize intra-African trade and collaboration to drive development and prosperity across the continent, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said yesterday. His remark came during a discussion with Rwanda President Paul Kagame on eve of Abu Dhabi's Sustainability Week. Both leaders exchanged ideas on advancing African progress. The story is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And on page 3, also decries alleged plan to abolish Tvcnewsng. The Academic Staff Union of University ASU has raised a red flag against alleged plan to abolish the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Tvcnewsng. The union described the alleged plan as dangerous for the country's tertiary education system. Its Calabar zone of the union said this after its zonal conference yesterday in Abakaliki, the Mboyi state capital. The zone comprises 7 public universities in Mboyi, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, and Abia states. They include Abia State University, Akwa Ibom State University, Mboyi State University, Ales Ekwemi Federal University, Induvial Iko University of Calabar, University of Cross River, and University of Uyo. You can get more about that story on also decries alleged plan to abolish Tvcnewsng. Still on page 3, federal government okay for airline for 2025 Hajj operation, says NACON chairman. The federal government has approved 4 airlines as official air carriers to convey intended pilgrims for this year Hajj in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The executive chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, Professor Abdullah Usman, announced this in a statement by the Commission's Assistant Director of Information and Publication, Mrs. Fatima Uzara. Usman said the 4 airlines were selected out of the 11 companies that submitted application to convey Nigeria's pilgrims to Saudi Arabia for Muslim pilgrimage. The NACON chairman named the 4 approved airlines as Air Peace Limited, Flynas, a Saudi Arabia designated airline, Max Air, and UMZA Aviation Service Limited. He added that the airline were screened and shortlisted by a team of 32 officials who were sworn in by the NACON on November 26, 2024. You can get more about that story on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. And now on page 5, Ibadan Stampede, Naomi Oriyomi, principal get 30 million naira bail. And Oyo State High Court sitting on Ring Road yesterday granted bail to Aloore Naomi Shilekola, Alhaji Oriyomi Hamzat, and Abdullahi Fasase. Justice Kamarudin Olawoyi, presiding over Court 8, gave the ruling following a bail application filed by the lawyers of the trio. The court had fixed yesterday for the ruling after Aloore Shilekola, Alhaji Hamzat, and Fasase lawyer on January 7 argued the bail's application. Olori Naomi is the ex-wife of the Oni of Ife, Obadiah Ogunwusi, and Rosewing Foundation, a non-governmental organization. Amzat is the proprietor of the Ibadan-based radio station Agidigbo FM, while Fasase is the principal Islamic High School, Basharun in Ibadan. You can read more about that story on page 5. Before I go on the page, Jakpa, Kwara health workers get 100% coherence pay. The Kwara state government yesterday said it had effected 100% payment of consolidation health worker salary structure, coherence. It added that salaries of health workers are now at par with that of their counterparts at the federal level. It said the development had reduced attrition from the state health sector to the federal government, adding that this has reduced the menace of Jakpa syndrome in the state health sector. The secretary of the Kwara State Hospital Management Board, Dr. Abdulrahim Malik, told reporters in Aloore at an interministerial news briefing. He said the board had recruited more doctors and health workers to bridge the gap of Jakpa syndrome and brain drain in the state. He said, and I quote, "Aitito, Kwara did not have blood bank depots. This made Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak to approve the procurement and supply of blood banks for a number of hospitals among the 46 hospitals under the board." He stated further, and I quote, "So far, the management board has trained 1,056 health workers in patient care and customer services." End of quote. He added. Let's get more about that story also on page 5. I will observe a short break. Please stay tuned.
Let us take you on a journey across continents as we bring you latest news, captivating stories, and diverse perspectives from around the globe. From breaking news headlines to fascinating features, discover the stories that shapes our society and the voices that demand to be heard. It's Newspaper Review on Aloore Radio. We bring you everything from breaking news.
The president must know that this is a bad time for our nation. We must look for foreign support to save this nation.
World news, sport, music,
Bella just want me with you like guys.
and many more. To listen to our programs, follow us live on all our social media platforms on Facebook at Aloore Radio, Twitter and Instagram at Aloore Radio. You can also subscribe on our YouTube page on Aloore Radio. Make sure you click on the notification bell so you know when we are live. This is Aloore Radio, the voice of Oyo State.
You're welcome and thanks so much for staying tuned. This is Aloore Radio, where we transmit from the Ministry of Information and Orientation. Still on your program, Newspaper Review, and the next news item is on page 6. PSC fired 2 senior officers, the most 6 for misconduct. The Police Service Commission PSC yesterday took a decisive action against any officers dismissing and approving the prosecution of 2 assistant superintendents of police for misconduct, dishonesty, corruption, sabotage, and acts unbecoming of public officers. The decision was part of several resolutions made during the Commission's second plenary meeting at its corporate headquarters, Jabe in Abuja. PSA also demoted 6 senior officers for similar offences. You can read more about that story of Police Service Commission on page 6. Makinde presents instrument of office to Alaafin. Coronation holds in 4 weeks. Corrupt chiefs will not face prosecution if New chapter opened in Oyo yesterday. The Alaafin of Oyo, Oba Akim Abimbola Owode, was presented with instrument of office by your state governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde. The economy was held at the ceremony was held at the executive chamber of the governor's office in Ibadan, the state's capital. Makinde said the Alaafin store is not just important to Oyotan, but also to Yoruba race. He said he decided to meddle in the appointment of the Alaafin because of his administration's belief in openness and transparency. Makinde warned those who are still bent on destabilizing the traditional institution in Oyo to desist. The governor said he will prosecute chief who allegedly collected money during the selection process, adding, however, that he will only forgive them if they seek the forgiveness of monarch. Makinde said, and I quote, "The Alaafin store is important not just to Oyo Town or Oyo State, but the Yoruba race. So under my watch, I made it clear that the store will not be for sale. It is not a store for us to toy with." He said further, and I quote, "I met Prince Owode for the first time in my life yesterday. I never spoke to him until yesterday. I did not know his profile or the profile of any of the princes vying for the store, and it was deliberate because I did not want my opinion to influence the process. Let me say this. When we came in 2019, we had challenges with the traditional institution in Ibarakpa land, and it has been resolved to everybody's satisfaction. When it was time for us to approve selection of Okere, some people came to me and said, this is our friend. They said one person is APC, and I said it does not mean anything to me, whether you are PDP or APC. Why should my decision be based on political consideration? So I approved the selection of the Shaki King makers. I always tell people not to kill themselves over politicians because we see ourselves in the night. We go to each other's house. Politics electioneering is a game. It is only when you have been elected then governance become us a serious business, because we take decisions that will not affect people. So we will play politics with governance. That was the words of Engineer Seyi Makinde when presenting instrument of office so the new Alaafin may strong bring progress and success to entire Oyo State and Yoruba race. Still on Oyo Kingdom, Oyo Town welcomes Alaafin Owode amid fanfares. Amid fanfare, the people of Oyo Town yesterday welcomed the Alaafin Abimbola Owode to the ancient city of the first time. This followed presentation of the instrument of office to him by Governor Seyi Makinde. Owode became the 46th Alaafin of Oyo, more than 2 years after Oba Lamidi Adeyemi joined his ancestors. The atmosphere in the Oyo Town was electric as residents and dignitaries gathered to celebrate the significant moment. In preparation for the monarch's arrival, markets, including the historic Akeso market, were shut. Residents lined up on major roads leading to the palace and the monarch's family house in Aloore. They were eager to catch a glimpse of the monarch. We can get more gist about that story on page 7 of the Nation newspaper. And on page 8, National Assembly Joint Finance Committee probe 4 trillion revenue shortfall due to waivers. The National Assembly Joint Committee on Finance yesterday set up a special panel to probe a shortfall of 4 trillion naira revenue due to indiscriminate waivers given to agencies of government. The Joint Committee, co-chaired by Senator Sonny Musa and House of Representative member James Faleke, held the hearing to probe the revenue profile of ministries, departments and agency MDAs and government-owned enterprises ahead of 2025 budget implementation. The hearing was meant to help the Senate and House of Representative Committee to develop accurate revenue projection for 2025. The panel to probe the shortfall was set up following a motion by Senator Adamu Aloore. Moving the motion, Aloore said, due to the issue of waiver, there is a serious shortfall between what is supposed to be collected as revenue and what is actually collected. Get more about that story on page 8 of the Nation newspaper. And still on the same newspaper, on page 23, lawyers should adopt AI now, expert advises. Lawyers and firms are yet to adopt artificial intelligence AI risk being left behind. A legal expert, Kelechukwu Uzoka, has warned. Lawyers and firms that have already embraced AI assistant will outpace the late adopters, he noted. According to him, AI guarantee efficiency and cost reduction. On concern at AI could displace lawyers, he said, by fostering a culture of understanding and trust, its full potential can be harnessed to argument rather than replace the expert and judgment of legal practitioner. That is a word of advice to the legal practitioner about AI. And on page 31, embrace reality of economy transformation. The permanent secretary in Lagos State Ministry of Finance, Udogan Temitope, has urged Nigerians to embrace the reality of economy transformation. He said it is important to prepare for a future where efficiency and innovation drive financial system. Speaking at his birthday and retirement at 4 Points by Sheraton, Victoria Island, he noted the need for continuous improvement at national level. And with that story of the PS, that has brought us to the end of From the Dailies this morning at Aloore Radio, transmitting from Ministry of Information and Orientation, Agodi Secretariat, Ibadan. I'm Temitope Ojawo. Join us at the same time for another and fresh package edition of this same program tomorrow. I say bye for now.